Don't you like farce? My fault, I fear. I thought you'd want what I want. So sorry, my dear. So send in the clowns. Where are the clowns? Don't bother. They're here. Guilty as charged. For you see, I am a clown. Jesus' passage, teaching, can hit like a ton of bricks. I can almost hear something along the lines of, watch out for some pastors. They like to wear flowing robes and to be greeted with respect at the grocery store and to sit in the most important spot on Sunday morning and to have places of honor and potlucks. In their arrogance, they can lose sight of me in pursuit of their own so-called calls to ministry, and in so doing devour the sensitivity of others. They will be punished. Well, at least my intentions were good. But I have been there. Now, I'm not too big on the flowing robe thing, but I certainly enjoy being greeted with respect at Fairway. I enjoy leading worship, and I've certainly enjoyed many a potluck in my day. And at times I've lost sight of what God has placed right before me, because it seemed more fun to look at something else in my own arrogance. So what do my failings have to do with Stewardship Sunday here at First Presbyterian Williamsburg? Well, I would argue everything to do with it, because you see, I'm not the only clown. There are clowns in our workplaces, there are clowns in our schools, there are clowns in our family, there are clowns in our community. Everywhere we look, they're sending in the clowns. Where are they? Well, don't bother, they're right here. The lyrics of the song interpret Jesus' context in this passage quite well. What's the song really about? It's about that facade that we put on in a relationship to basically gain out of our own self-interest. It's about our motive and how we can get caught up in that and blind ourselves. I thought you want what I want. Oh, so sorry, my dear. It's about image management. And it happens at some point to all of us. Many of you have lived in this community for your entire lives, or at least a fair portion of them, and you know what others want to see of you. They want to know, they pretty much know what's expected of you in your workplace and in your community and in your school, and you work very hard to put that best face forward. It's true of all of us. And that can, as the passage indicated, include giving quite generously out of our wealth. Once we have our little place and our position, and it seems to be relatively safeguarded, and we have our home, and we have our retirement, at least on its way, and our kids' college education reasonably under control, and we have a fridge that's relatively stocked, and then we give to other things. Send in the clowns. Where are the clowns? Don't bother. They're here. And they were in the temple that day. As Jesus sat down opposite where that offering plate was and saw clown after clown after clown after clown placing out of their wealth into that treasury. Waiting, searching for someone without a red nose and face paint. And then she came in. The poor widow. And something in Jesus' mind must have come full circle as he watched her that day. Because that temple was built on the top of a hill. It had been destroyed once, but been reconstructed on basically the same foundation at the top of the very hill where about 2,000 years later somebody else had come up and not just put in out of their well, but went all in with everything this person had. In this case, it was a man with a son that he'd waited for decades, and a bundle of wood. The temple was built on the very same hillside where Abram constructed an altar and placed his son on it. Jesus was sitting perhaps yards from where 2,000 years earlier a ram was caught in a thicket because someone dared to go all in and trust in God. About 1,000 years later, another orphan and widow came. She was from Moab. She wasn't part of that community. She had every reason to go home, but instead, something about the community that she'd experienced with Naomi hit her so hard that she went all in. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. And you know, you could probably see that very same hillside if you'd gone outside the temple, because it was only about 5 or 6 miles to the west in Bethlehem. That woman, Ruth, was the great-grandmother of a shepherd boy who also went all in. His name was David. Went up against the giant with a sling and stone. Put it all on the line. Everybody else was cowering. He went all in. His son, one of them anyway, had constructed the very foundation of the temple that Jesus was literally sitting on. However, Solomon, at least in later years, gave more out of his wealth than going all in. And it had a ripple effect. And now, 2,000 years after Abraham, as Jesus is literally watching that widow put those 2 small copper coins into that treasury, he realizes that just hours from now, hours that you could count, he was going to have to go all in to save not only from the repercussions of long ago, but for all who were to come. That widow went all in, not out of wealth, but because out of complete faith. I have nothing left. I don't have a community to save me. I have no financial resource. I have no retirement plan. I have no pension. I'm giving to you, God, and I expect you, not like throwing them into a wishing well. I expect you, God, to somehow take care of me. And what she didn't know is sitting just feet away was the one who was going to do just that. Jesus went all in for you and for me. Doesn't just want out of our wealth. Doesn't just want what's over the top. He wants every single bit of you. And if that doesn't scare the living spit out of you, it should. It's costly. It cost Jesus all. And this isn't a message intended to make you feel guilty. It's actually a message intended to free you. Because what are we really trying to do when we give out of our wealth? We're trying to protect ourselves. But as you know in your heart of hearts, as I've learned, unfortunately over and over again, you can't do that. We cannot save ourselves. We cannot protect ourselves. Life happens, sometimes in ugly and horrific ways. But we can go all in to the one who can and has already and promises to eternally continue to save us. Obviously, as you place pledges into the offering plate today, yes, there are financial needs necessary for the ministries of this congregation. I encourage you to give generously to that, but what's more important, I believe, to God is that wherever you are, in your workplace, in your school, in your community, in your home, with the relationships that you've already been entrusted to, that you go all in, every part of you, because the finances and everything else will follow. The ministries that are intended to be done here will be done. It's not a matter of if, they will be done. The widow understood that. And Jesus has promised that. So take off the face paint. Remove the nose. Say to God, I want what you want. I'm so thankful, my dear. Where are the clouds? I don't know.